Welcome to the Mr. Beacon podcast. This week we've got a great interview with Ersan Günes of Inpixon, which is a really interesting firm. I'll give you a bit of an overview of that, but I also want to preview. We'll be starting the program before the interview with some news analysis. Some interesting things going on. Williott and Avery Dennison made a interesting announcement, short on details, but I'm going to be reading through the lines of that and giving you my take. I'm going to give you a readout on my experience so far in using AI to code with the Cursor development tool. It's a mixed bag. And then we're going to look at the recent Amazon announcements and the Alexa Plus early access program. I want to just give you a preview before we go into that analysis on my discussion with Ersan Günes of Inpixon. He's an SVP who is leading product. He leads their AI initiatives. And I think this whole topic of how we take the traditional field of IoT and how that melds with the emerging developments with large language models is fascinating. And Ersan is heading up his company's initiatives in that area, and he gives some really interesting insights in the interview. I think it's an important interview. We've always prided ourselves in giving you the chance to meet the people behind the most significant companies in this IoT, auto ID, digital physical convergence sphere that we cover. And Inpixon is notable. They won a good place in Gartner's Magic Quadrant for indoor location, which indicates they're more than just a niche player. I've been through that process myself with Williott, and it's a really tough set of criteria that you have to score on with a broad set of products and real momentum in the market. So they're a serious player that you need to know about, and they're really a roll-up of several companies. Nanotron, who developed technology called Chirp, which is a spread spectrum technology that is an alternative to Bluetooth and ultra-wideband in terms of localizing. And so I wanted to learn more about that. And Ersan headed up Intranav, which is one of the companies that they rolled up, and he'll be talking a bit about himself. He's an Ironman regular, which means he runs marathons, cycles and swims in an incredible combination. But I think it's his insights into AI and location that are really very interesting. Before we get to that, I do want to go and look at some of these news items. Now, if you were paying attention and looked at your news feed, you will have seen a press release that came out from Williott and Avery Dennison. And at first read, it seems kind of not to be saying very much. But I think there is a lot to be learned by reading between the lines. The first thing to note is this press release came from Avery Dennison. Someone needs to put this on the wire. And if you look at announcements, very often it's from the smaller company that's claiming they've got a partnership with a bigger company. But this actually came from the bigger company, and it came with a quote. So those of you who have toiled over getting press releases out, getting a quote named from a senior executive, in this case, it was Francisco Mello, who's president of the Solutions Group. So right at the top of the collection of divisions that deal with RFID and auto ID and so forth. And you can be forgiven for looking at it and saying, well, what's new? Because maybe 7 years ago, Avery Dennison announced an investment in Williott, and there's been a series of webinars and so forth. But there's some key words that are mentioned in this that really talk about Avery Dennison's scale, and they really are the company that focuses on very large scale production. So they don't like getting out of bed for anything less than a billion units. So those are the markets that they really focus on. It still leaves many places for other companies that are like our sponsor Identiv, who looks at complex, developing new form factors and opening up new segments. But Avery Dennison focuses on established segments that are starting to generate real volume. And in the past, Wiliot has announced that talked about making hundreds of millions of tags. And in this announcement, there's a rather oblique reference from Tal Tamir, who's the CEO of Wiliot, on servicing the demand from the world's largest and most dynamic enterprises, which in my mind is code for Walmart and Amazon. Those are the largest enterprises that are using Auto ID. So I think it's an interesting announcement. What it tells me is that things are starting to scale. What I should say is I do have an inside interest. When I left Wiliot, I bought all of my stock options. So take what I say with that in mind. So let's move on now. I wanted to just say a few words on the work I've been doing with Cursor. So for those of you that have come across this vibe coding concept and maybe even tried it yourselves, you'll know that it's actually really easy to create programs very, very quickly by giving a few prompts to AI. But the question in my mind is, can we actually develop a product using this? And there are lots of different tools. You can just go straight into ChatGPT or to Claude and ask it to knock up a quick Star Wars game, and it can create some fun little adventure game for you. But in a situation where you have to exercise real control, you've got a complex set of features, is this technology ready to scale? And my view is that it is, but Cursor comes with some limits, and I would equate it to a good junior programmer that needs supervision from a product manager, from a development manager, because left to its own devices, it can produce some pretty horrible code that starts to reach its limits in terms of scaling. And the work I've been doing, I've been impressed. I've spent maybe $300 in the last month, because you can really churn through a lot of AI tokens to develop the code for a serious application. And I'm starting to look at other integrated development environments, including the OpenAI Xcode plugin to VS Code, because I've heard that rather than behaving like a junior programmer, this behaves like a senior programmer that's paying much more attention to structure and scale and some of the things that I've found lacking in my early work with Cursor. That said, it's incredible what you can do. I recommend it as a learning exercise for anyone that is interested in this technology. Okay, last thing before we get on to our interview with Ersan, I just wanted to say a few words about the announcements that Amazon made in the last week. They announced a whole slew of devices, but I thought the most interesting thing was the fact that Alexa Plus, their long-awaited move to offering a full large language model on the devices that we have in our homes, is actually starting to scale. I registered for this program maybe 6 months ago and have been waiting impatiently for what they were going to promise to push out. And it started to happen. And what I found is that 2 of the more recent devices in our home have now been upgraded. You still talk to Alexa, but you just say that keyword once, and then you can have a conversation. Whereas the old Alexa, you had to insert the keyword at the beginning of almost every sentence that you initiated with the device. So you can actually have a good conversation. It's got the intelligence that is reminiscent of a ChatGPT or a Claude. What I would say is that it seems like they're working with much tighter guardrails. Amazon got criticized heavily by some of the people that had access earlier to Alexa Plus. And I think they've responded to that. And they've got something that in my mind is very robust. I was able to ask it a whole range of questions. And one of the things I really liked about it was it helps you manage the information that it stores about you. So I shared with it some of the things I like, some of the things I dislike, and it confirmed and allowed me to go back in a later session to inspect the kind of information that supplements all the purchase history, which Alexa has already had. And so this device, I think, is a real ambient device. It's ubiquitous. We have a bunch of them in our home, in most of the rooms in our house. And the idea of being able to have a free-ranging conversation to ask for simple things, but also complex things, and to have that in a very natural way is incredibly compelling, especially when you combine it with the ability to buy things, which is obviously the way Amazon wants to monetize this. So I was able to ask it, really abstract questions like, what's the difference and similarities between Stoicism and Buddhism? And you would have just got a blank stare and a rather frustrating response from old Alexa. But these are the kind of questions that you get an incredibly eloquent answer, and you get an answer that's multimodal. So not only do you get a reply, an intelligent reply, but you also get media and graphics that are illustrating the answers that you're getting. And so this goes beyond what you would normally see from your ChatGPT app on your phone or on your PC. So I think this is really good news. The area that excites me most that we're looking at is this convergence of AI and IoT, ambient intelligence, if you will. And this is something that we're going to be covering more in the future. So enough of me talking about the news. Let's move on and hear my conversation with Ersan Günes of Inpixon. Ersan, welcome to the Mr. Beacon podcast.
Thanks for having me here. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to have you on. You have got a key position in a very successful location as a service company. You're based in Germany, but they're global and they have some amazing customers. A who's who of the automotive business, BMW, Mercedes, Tesla, some incredible manufacturing installations, a lot of work in defense, some really interesting technology. And I want to talk to you about all of that. I want to talk to you about AI, because you head up AI for your company and the company that owns your company. And I also want to get into a unique technology that I haven't really come across before called Chirp that you offer that has some significant advantages over other RTLS-based radio protocols. And so I think it's really interesting for people to hear a bit about where that fits in. So we've got a lot to cover. Before we do that, let me just hand the mic over to you and ask you to give a really brief introduction to your company and who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Ersan Günes. I'm based in Frankfurt and I'm working for Inpixon, which is the company that acquired Intranov a while ago, where I was the co-founder. And we are pretty, I would say, well situated in the RTLS business. And we are very strongly focused on the production logistics sector. And with our Chirp product, we are also in mining, smart mining. And our specialty is not only delivering the data, it's really about like solving the customer's problem and creating value at the customer side. We started very early with focusing on the software parts of our solutions, but kept it very open with the hardware elements.
Very good. And you've achieved some great success, at least from what I see, as far as the customers, product portfolio. and you've been more than once in the Gartner Magic Quadrant for indoor location. So that's a tough challenge. They go deep into what you do, and so congratulations on that. I want to just understand a bit more about the company, and then we'll get into the product and the applications. So you're kind of, it's like a Russian doll. So is it XTI, which is an aerospace company that you're part of, and then you have Inpixon, which bought Intranav, which was the company that you founded and were co-founded and were CEO of. How big is your parent company? How big is your company?
Yeah, so Inpixon acquired a couple of RTLS-based or focused companies. There was also an AR technology company that got acquired by Inpixon. One of the most popular acquisitions was Nanotron, a Berlin-based company that owned the chirp technology. That's one of our key technologies, and not only the system, but really the silicon. So we do manufacture the silicon with our partner. Then we got the Intranav acquisition, which brought in the software platform part. And Intranav, when it got acquired, were around 55 people. And most of them are still in the team. We are now 35 people only working for this Intranav part. And Inpixon, with this small buy-in, is around 25 people now. And then there is a subsidy in Asia, in India, that has around 20 people working as an extended workbench, typically for the software. Then there is XTI, as you mentioned. XTI Aerospace bought Inpixon. They have a very strong focus in their aircraft business, and they see RTLS as one of their pillars in going this aircraft vision. And the pillar that we are in is so-called advanced manufacturing systems. So, of course, Intranav and RTLS can be used to manufacture aircrafts and build up know-how in the production of aircrafts. And this is what they also want to sell to other partners.
So they understand the technology because they need it, they use it, and they want to take something that they feel is good and spread it further. I got to ask you about the AR piece. This is probably not doing a good job of keeping the order straight, but I can't resist. So augmented reality and RTLS, how do those two technologies fit together?
AR is a very crucial part in spatial intelligence. So RTLS will deliver you the XY coordinates, but the AR technology will actually show you on the phone where the object that you are searching for is. So you can take your mobile phone, both information sources, the AR information and the RTLS information get fusioned, and it will show you a ribbon that will lead to the objects that you're searching for. And this is, I would say, one of the coolest features in the smart equipment space, and it helps to accelerate searching processes. And also, I'm going a bit deep into the technical part now, but as an example, if you have an anchor and you replace the anchor to 1 meter to the side, you can use our tool to remeasure it. You don't need to call our maintenance experts or installation guys. You can do this by yourself.
So an anchor being a receiver that would read the tags that are on the things that are moving around. So the anchor, as its name implies, is kind of in a static place and a known place, and it's kind of the point of reference where the system makes sense of where everything else is. So if you move it, you need to make sure you update it. And I think what I'm hearing is the AR interface makes that a much easier process, that moving. Is that fair summary?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I love the kind of Find My with AR added. And of course, if you're going to do that, presumably you need very good, precise location because, people can accept, oh, it's roughly, by the fire exit or it's in racking area 7. But if you're going to put an arrow and say, this is where it is, the asset is the spare part or whatever, and it's somewhere that's 3 meters to the left, then it's going to look pretty weird. So are you using AR with, what are the location technologies that you're using AR with? Are you able to use it with Bluetooth, or do you just use it with the kind of the more precise ultra wideband? And tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so we are using it with ultra wideband or Bluetooth. It really depends what the customer use cases are demanding, and based on that technology decision, we feed in the information to the AR part. So it can be Bluetooth, it can be Wirepass, it can be a Coupa based system also. Since we integrate third party, intraNav is a technology agnostic system.
Fascinating. So I know the AR demos really well. So I'm sure your salespeople love this part of your product portfolio. Do you find it actually gets used in production?
In production, it gets used. So since we added metrics to calculate, to get feedback from our products, how many times the search bar got used or how many times a worker utilized the search, we know that they are using it.
That's good.
In addition, it's very interesting how we thought that our customers will use the system and then getting the feedback of the reality.
I think this is a fascinating area. So in the past, we all had so many debates about what was the right feature, what was the wrong feature, what customers really think. Now you can see how people are actually using the system, and you can do product management based on real numbers of what people are using. What are some of the things that you learned with that? Were there any kind of surprises or wins or breakthroughs that when you started managing by numbers rather than opinions?
Steve, we learned so much, and it impacted so hard into the roadmap, and I will tell you what we learned. So we spent so many hours on having the nicest UI on the desktop, and we figured out that no one is using the UI. No one is using the UI, and that made us thinking about our product and what's going on here.
Yeah.
So to explain a bit how the use cases works with our customers, they utilizing our RTLS system to, as an example, eliminate the barcode scan. I think this is a very popular use case, and typically you place an active tag device on an object that moves through the factory, and it automatically pings its position, and systems are getting this information, and it will book itself through the process. So there's no manual booking scanning needed. So this means the customer is not using our UI or system. He just gets his information by pass through. So there is no interaction with the software anymore. They're using their ERP or SAP systems. They're used to their front ends. They don't want to use our front end. Our system's really working in the background as a hidden champion. But that brought us to an idea and also to a mission, because we want to be very close to the customer. We want to be somehow emotionally connected to the customer. Same strategy as, I don't want to sound cringe, but this is the strategy that Steve Jobs did with the iPod. Creates the connection with music to the end customer. And we developed a new product, and it's just now in the soft launch, that we call Ask Pixie. It's an agentic AI bot which is actually the factory in your pocket. And with this, you will, or we will give you back the emotional connection to your factory. Yeah. It's very high level how I explained, but this is what we are working now, and this is one of the impacts that we have with this analysis on our roadmap. We want to get back into the pocket, into the hands of the customers. We want to be recognized. Yeah, there is the RTLS system. It works for you 24/7.
And the name of that app again?
It's called Ask Pixie.
Ask Pixie. Great. And what sort of questions might you ask Pixie?
You can ask Pixie, okay, how is the operation running? Do I need to plan something different than yesterday? Is something happening today? And the basic questions of our customers using our system. So we interviewed them, we analyzed them, we talked a lot with them. We did small POCs, workshops to know what the day-to-day questions are that they ask to their systems, and which we can get answered better in combining the normal ERP data with RTLS data, because this is the key here. I mean, everybody knows ChatGPT and is using it, and I'm also have anxiety how I will get replaced by ChatGPT. But
well, it's all jokes are based on the truth, right? And so I was listening to a A16Z podcast the other night. I was actually trying to get to sleep. And I think I chose the wrong podcast because they were talking about what's the future. And, these are the guys that are writing the checks for all of the new companies that are using AI. And man, this was apocalyptic. And it got so just crazy. I'm like, this is just so off the charts. I can't even take this seriously. So, and I think we just have to try and learn about the technology and get a handle on it ourselves, and recognize that the technology generally takes longer to come into effect. But I find what you're describing fascinating, and I do want to spend some more time on it. So it sounded like you made a strategic decision. You saw that people weren't using the dashboards that you had painstakingly built. They were using their other main core systems, their SAP and so forth. You wanted to have a direct connection because there's insight and power and value that you can add when you do that. And I guess it sounds like you chose this chatbot interface as the basis for doing it. What were the sort of aha moments when you were prototyping and developing that, in terms of what surprised you about the kind of answers that you could get, the kind of questions you could ask, and the kind of answers that you could get?
Yeah, there's a pretty nice story about that. So how we developed it was not just to build up or to connect it to an OpenAI front end. We built up a learning mechanism. So we are able to feed in PDFs. We are able to import books for lean production and optimizing logistics. And then we implemented a function that it learns from the question that the customer is asking, and it gives out quick actions or quick answers or suggestions. Yeah, let's say it gives suggestions. So we had this with the customer, and he asked, okay, what's going wrong here? Yeah, in the material flow. Why is this order always delayed? And what's wrong in the process? And we were like sweating because we didn't know what Ask Pixie is going to say, and it gave answers, like mind-blowing answers. And then it suggested a change in the layout. And by the view to the guy sitting in front of the screen, I knew, okay, it's doing it the right thing, because they were like super surprised and were like, why didn't we thought about that? Yeah. And this was the aha moment of our customers, and so it was mine. Yeah.
So you had kind of given it a diet of maybe texts that were not public, that were domain specific. And it sounded like, but the answers it was giving were maybe based on those, but also, an internet full of textbooks on manufacturing and technology. I want to kind of go into and understand a little bit about your technical approach to doing this. So, we talk about training AI, and these huge training runs that are done are kind of expensive if you start from scratch. So, and then so one thing that we want to do with AI, I think naturally as product developers, is supplement what they know generically, which is a huge amount already, with something that is specific to our application, and ideally something that is unique to us, so that we have a seat at the table and a reason for buying our version of this chatbot. And so there's like long texts, but there's also like data. And people talk about, and those are two different things. One is your robot is in Bay 7. You're not going to train an AI model on that, because that data is changing constantly, right? And I'm looking for you to raise your hand and stop me if I go wrong. But I'm assuming that you're smiling, that I'm assuming I'm on the right track here. Tell us a little bit about this difference between how you feed an AI with dynamic data and how you train it without, having to raise $10 billion to do all of the training to build a model from scratch.
Absolutely. So we also utilize technologies and models which are already there. And given to the tools that are available now, it's pretty easy to segment data, or your own data points. The differentiator here is really the RTNS data that comes out of the factory. And this is something that other software vendors don't have access to. And this is the key. So the idea was not only to generate the data for the customer, the RTNS data showing how the material flows through the wrapper factory. We also wanted to give our model the chance to understand what's happening there when the order goes the upper part of the factory, or when it goes the bottom part of the factory. And we had to also understand what's happening there. So it's a process together with the customer. But once this is segmented and trained to the model, in combination with the endless data of working books and manufacturing guidelines, it gives very interesting answers to questions. And this is what we do actually. So we take our data, segmented it, and train it to the factory model.
Are you willing to share what the technology stack looks like that you used to create this?
Absolutely no problem, because I guess when you ask ChatGPT, it will throw out everything. That's the good side now, or the bad side, I don't know. So what we're utilizing is the MCP technology. That means what we did in the first step was we gave all the systems an AI sensitive interface. So the language model has the chance to understand or has to understand the context of this data. And then we used also OpenAI and Claude to segment the data. And this is built on Microsoft Azure, because we want to comply to the European, or we have to comply to the European AI Act. And there are very specific models that they're doing this.
Okay. And so I want to just stop and really clarify that. So you can, I use ChatGPT every day, and I guess my data is just going into is being answered by the instance that's running in some data center somewhere in the Bay Area or up in Seattle or in somewhere cheaper. But it's the same data center and the same instance as probably 50, 100 million other people, individuals are using.
Yes.
But you as a corporation, you can essentially get your own copy of ChatGPT, the OpenAI stack, and run it in a controlled environment that can actually be in Europe. And so the confidentiality of the data is ensured. Is that a reasonable kind of summary of
Absolutely.
what you've done?
Yes.
You talked about MCP. I'm not familiar with that. What's that?
MCP is, in easy words, the new way how APIs work in the AI world. It gives your data the context, and it's not only delivering the data, it delivers with the context. So every time, as an example, the large language model asks your MCP server for a specific data set, they can communicate and figure out which is the best data that needs to be transported to answer your question. So it's a very dynamic approach.
Okay, very cool. So you've built, so this is the stack. Any other aspects that we should describe? Do you have like multiple models that you're incorporating to answer a question? Do you sort of have a group of experts that where a problem gets broken down and solved by specialist AIs?
Yes, and this is one of the benefits working with abstracted models and not directly with the vendor of those models, because you have still the freedom to choose other models. And based on the question, the system will choose the right model or the most effective model.
And what's the bit that does the routing of the problem to, so it sounds like you could have something running with Anthropic Claude that's really good at I don't know, writing responses or writing reports, or you have some better engineering problem solving running in OpenAI, and this thing will figure out which parts of the problem need to be run by which instance. What is that thing that's doing the routing?
This is what we call MCP tools. We did it by ourselves because we had very specific questions. We figured out that it's still not a good way to do this through the AI. So we developed MCP tools that analyzes the question and routes it to the right model, because we work also with on-premises deployments where you don't have the internet connection. So it's air-gapped, and we utilize very small models here, like DeepSeek, things that you can deploy on your machine. And that's why we did this routing through our MCP toolset.
So this sounds quite an achievement. You're in trials, it sounds like. So you have a working product that's being experimented. Where's the most interest in this? Who's receptive, and what are the areas where you think they should be receptive, but they haven't quite got it yet?
So we had a very wide spectrum of use cases, and based on the first trials, we saw that the focus will be, or the highest interests are there where lots of manual work is happening, like advanced planning and scheduling. So printing out Excel sheets, doing recalculations on the production, doing reprioritizations. This is one of the biggest topics that we encountered because planning changes every day. And there's also a supply chain part on this, which we're addressing. As an example, is the order really coming tomorrow, or do we need to prepare the painting cabin? Most of the time, work is done and not used. Yeah. And this is something that we call waste, yeah, process waste, and Ask Pixie is avoiding this.
That's great. So you can show an ROI pretty quickly, rather than just companies doing it in a performative way to show that they're at least doing something. Is there an area where you see big potential, but it's just tough to get people to see it?
I mean, we're still in the soft launch phase and we're learning from the customers, and we targeted explicitly our customer base, existing customer base. But I would say it's in the region of how companies are managing their material handling fleet, from people moving stuff around, and also AGVs. If you take a look on how they schedule.
And for people that aren't familiar, what's an AGV?
An AGV is an automated guided vehicle. It's like an unmanned forklift that drives objects from A to B very statically. And modern AGVs, they can do this also dynamically. But still, there is a big potential there that an overbrain will steer all these components in the warehouse. And I think there will be a large impact. Also, I mean, I don't want to sound apocalyptic, but we saw so many humanoid bots around the last years replacing simple worker tasks. And I think there will be at some place a shift to robots for very easy tasks, and AI will take a big part there, right?
So when you say humanoid, you're talking about like the Elon Musk Optimus robots that we see serving drinks at his events and that sort of thing.
Yes, exactly. Or Boston Dynamics. It's also they have this very popular RoboDog.
Yes. Yeah, incredible. So you think that that's actually, because these have been around for, the Boston Dynamics is just so cool, especially the videos where you have someone that's like trying to trip up the dog, and you start to get very angry at the person that's being so cruel to this mindless robot, to the level of empathy you can have for something that seems like an organic thing, but isn't, is amazing. But so what is it that you feel is going to drive this change from novelty, niche, to an accelerated level of adoption of these robots?
I think it's the drive to be more efficient and productive. This is one of the key drivers, and that means there has to be more throughput. More throughput means much more things have to happen in a shorter time. If you want to do this with human workers, it will, of course, in some countries, very expensive. That's one of the drivers. Yeah, I guess at some point when maturity hits a certain price point, it will be implemented into factories and production sites like the AGV, the automated guided vehicle.
And are you saying any evidence of that happening now?
I mean, we see a lot of YouTube videos. There's a lot of show going on to show us what's technology-wise feasible at the moment, and
Yeah.
what are the capabilities. But I think we are still not there. Yeah, it will take 20, 30 years.
Interesting. Very good. Well, we need to get back to the core offerings of your company. This AI discussion has been so interesting. So I just want to wrap it up with a question, a meta question about how you are going about the process of making sure that your company and your parent company are adopting AI. I saw that you are head of AI, not just for Inpixon, but also for XTI, your parent company. What's your approach been to doing this job, and what is this job that you've got to do with AI adoption?
Since we started with Ask Pixie, the AI topic was like a wildfire in our company. We looking to ourselves and asking the question, how can we optimize the day-to-day work? How can we be more efficient in customer projects, in delivery of software, in quality assurance? And the whole product team is now in charge for the AIification of our teams. That means that we also do hackathons with customers together, where we trying to AIificate their product or how the product working. So as an example, a product partner comes to us, says, hey, we have this Bluetooth tags, you have this great AI tool sets, can we somehow generate something and do more out of it? And then I'm telling them that we do in hackathon soon, and you can raise up the question and let's see what the guys are producing there. Yeah.
So it's about the hackathons are kind of a creative process. It gets a bit of the competitive juices going. You're looking at all of the aspects of your company, it sounds like, on how you can optimize it. But I think where this gets really interesting is where you see it changing your product offering, and certainly that's what I'm seeing. I think everyone gets it, that they can make their staff more efficient with AI, but what's it changing in your offering? And Ask Pixie is a great example of that. I do want to talk about some of the geeky technology pieces, because I find it fascinating. So you ended up with Chirp through an acquisition, it sounds like, and Chirp is it fair to say it's like an alternative to ultra wideband or Bluetooth? Tell us a bit about what you use it for.
So Chirp is based on the 2.4 gigahertz frequency band.
So same as Bluetooth, right?
Same as Bluetooth.
Unlicensed public spectrum, right?
We don't own the protocol itself. It's an open standard, but we've developed our own proprietary implementation of it. So it's especially powerful in tricky RF environments like mines, or where you have lots of metal, where you need high range. And this is one of the benefits.
So it has much longer range than
Much longer range.
Bluetooth or even ultra wideband.
Yeah, we're talking about 500 meters here. So
okay.
And Chirp spreads the signal over a wide bandwidth. That's the difference to Bluetooth or other 2.4 gigahertz systems. And that makes it resistant for interferences.
So you still have the same bandwidth in the ISM band, but Bluetooth has these fairly narrow channels that it hops between, and it sounds like Chirp is taking more of that space to get a robust signal that will propagate further in difficult conditions.
Absolutely.
What are the trade-offs there? There's no such thing as a free lunch, I guess.
Of course. So you have to take care with the interoperability with Wi-Fi or other Bluetooth systems. This is something that has to be considered. I mean, the use cases for chirp are most of the time ranging operations, especially when it's about collision avoidance and two-way data exchange.
So ranging being, where you've got a real-time readout about how close an asset is.
Yes, exactly. And you will utilize a lot of the frequency band there, and that's why you have to consider it with the other RF systems that are being used in the factory.
And so you're down in a gold mine. Why would you want to use? What would you use chirp for down in that mine? It's got better range. That's good. So what's the application?
Oh, we have a great application there. One of the largest mining system integrators provides a cap lamp. You can imagine every worker in the mine has a cap lamp.
Yeah.
And they built a pretty nice implementation of a chirp-based tag device into the cap lamp. So they are always trackable inside the mine for safety purposes, because, as an example, there are blasts going on and you want to assure that no one is there in the area.
Yeah.
And this is what we also call smart mining. And chirp is being used there because it's so robust in this environment.
Very good. So tell us a bit about the rest of your technology solution range. You've got, I looked at the solutions that you feature on your website. I think there were 11 of them, and I think we could probably spend a show on each of them. But what's the thing that's driving applications in your kind of the biggest market? So let's take a customer like Tesla. Well, I'm sure you can't talk about what they're doing, but what sort of things would a company like Tesla need to do? What are the kinds of technologies that you could offer them?
Tesla is being known for their large gigafactories, and ultra wideband, as an example, is a technology that requires a lot of gateways. That means you have to have a lot of cabling, and companies with such large sites are very interested in implementing technologies that don't have that high cabling costs. So very efficient.
And it takes time as well. Elon Musk is pretty impatient. He's known for that. So he wants things to be rolled out fast, and cabling slows things down because you need people with scissor lifts and subcontractors, and it gets in the way.
Absolutely. So they are interested in technologies like wirepass, where you don't need to have cabled infrastructure. It's a battery-powered infrastructure, and it still delivers a certain level of accuracy to find the ladder, as an example, in the factory.
So wirepass, that's interesting. So this is a wireless technology where you can link these base stations together. So the base station itself, would that be using some other technology for the actual trilateration, triangulation, whatever? But wirepass is essentially the backbone. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, wirepass is the backbone, but we also use wirepass for the RSSI based location. That means based on the signal strength. And they provide a pretty good, sufficient location layer that is able to translate those signals or signal strength information to location data.
So what would you say is the workhorse application offering that is driving the most of your business, certainly in the past, of all of these solutions?
Yeah, it's a head-to-head race between barcode elimination, like auto ID, automatic identification of objects with RTLS, and object finding. So we call this also smart equipment, where customers are searching for equipment or tools or manufacturing orders. Those are the, I would say, top use cases
Very good. Okay. Well, any aspects that that we missed out that you think we should cover? We talked a lot about AI, which I think is interesting. We just skimmed the surface on your offerings. We chatted a bit about Chirp. I think I understand more about that and why it would be used. Anything else that we should cover before we transition to your music choices?
Yeah, I think it's one of the key points at Inpixon is that we are open for all the technologies. And this is a very nice observation that we have with hardware partners who always have this, is he a competitor or is he a partner view? And I would tell all the other companies out there to be open and not playing like this game.
Yes.
I think the openness and to technology and software interfaces and partner opportunities, this is the key for the future, I would say.
Absolutely. And yeah, you touched on the work you do with Cooper as an example. And there, I think it's pretty clear. Well, tell me a little bit more about where you would use Cooper, which we've covered probably 4 or 5 times on this show, but Bluetooth angle of arrival, tags in hockey pucks, and on all sorts of things, people even in all sorts of environments, as well as I did a project with them on pallets, real-time pallet tracking. But let's just go to the next level and describe where they end and where you start.
Cooper was brought to us by a customer. They had a solution deployed in their production facilities and wanted to add a paperless factory application there. So there are those e-shelf labels. I mean, you know them from your Amazon Kindle ebook readers. And they're very popular now and getting more and more used in the production to replace the paper. And they wanted to connect their Bluetooth or Cooper devices with those e-ink displays that we introduce. And we had to implement Cooper into our platform and bring up the blue dot on the map, use the XY data. And this was the first touchdown with Cooper. And it's a great project. And I guess they are happy. We are happy. Yeah.
So Cooper was delivering the XY of what? What was the asset again?
We were tracking trolleys inside the factory.
Okay. Yeah.
Carrying materials. Yeah.
And then your software was talking to the electronic labels. Is that right?
Yes, we were providing the labels with updated information based on the location. And this is how the use case looked like.
Okay, very good. Well, that's a good practical example. Are you still running Ironman events?
Yes,
at 40?
I did my, I would say my friends, they said that the midlife crisis hit hard on me. And I did my first Ironman 4 weeks ago. I never did the full one, only the half ones.
Oh, congratulations. That's a phenomenal thing. And for people that, because we're recording now, so for people that don't know what an Ironman is, what is it?
It's a long distance triathlon. So at the beginning, you start swimming 4 kilometers, then you have to switch on a bike and cycle for 180 kilometers. And then once you got off the bike, you have to run a marathon, a full marathon, 42K.
That is astonishing. And you completed it.
Yes.
Absolutely incredible. I had a friend that did it, and I know it was wonderful for him, and I was full of admiration. And have you been doing that throughout your entrepreneurial work? Because before Inpixon, you were the founder and CEO of intranav, and I'm assuming that was like very time consuming. Did you keep up the athletics during all of that time?
No. I was totally unathletic at this time, and it started just right after the acquisition of Intranav, because I did not have the headache anymore for the financing of the company.
Yeah.
Brought some free time for me to get back in shape, I would say.
Very good. Well, we have the tradition on this show, hopefully your marketing person told you about it, of asking you about 3 songs that have meaning to you. So did you get the message, and what did you choose if you did?
I got the message, and it's pretty clear on my playlist on Spotify. I don't want to do advertisement here, but it's Eminem, "Lose Yourself."
Okay.
I think it's a very good song. It's always about recognition of opportunities and commitment. And then Phil Collins, "In the Air Tonight." I mean, it has a haunting and slow build that is perfect for deep thinking.
Do any of these songs kind of remind you about a time in your life? Is there people, place, things, events that correspond with those tracks?
Yeah. I saw Phil Collins 10 years ago in a concert, and that was obviously the one of the best songs from him. Yeah. And in the movie Hangover, it takes also a very popular part. So I love the song, yeah. And Eminem, of course, was the star of my childhood. So it still is.
And what was your childhood like?
I would say I was so my father was an engineer, so I had lots of time in repairing stuff, and my father always wanted to get in touch with his day-to-day work, yeah. And I had a pretty nice childhood, of course, but it was branded by the engineering enthusiasm of my father. And I would say it started the fire in me to build something by myself. Yeah.
Did he is he still alive? Has he seen what you've done? Does he understand what you do?
He understands what I'm doing, and he still wants to participate in what I'm doing, and I'm pretty open and friendly for his tips and ideas, but sometimes it's pretty hard to decline in a friendly way, in a respectful way.
Yeah, there's advice and there's execution on the advice.
Yeah. He's the guy, he comes to the office and wants to talk with the people, wants to bring his ideas in, and everybody is like, "Oh, this is Ersan's dad. You just nick with your head and it's okay." Yeah.
Well, my mother, who's 86, still reads and listens to everything that I put out, and always comes back with the most loving but constructive notes on things I should do to fix it. And so when I was running marketing at Wiliot, then frequently I would be going back to people on my team and saying, "Look, we got to fix this. My mum's pointed out this wording error or whatever on the website." So it's great that they care and spend the time and take that interest. So what's your third song?
It's from Queen. "Don't Stop Me Now."
Yeah. So I can imagine you listening to that on your triathlon run. Is that
absolutely? Yeah, that's from my running playlist. Yeah, and it's one of the songs I play when it gets hard. And
awesome.
Yeah, it has his magic. Yeah.
I literally just came back from a drive down from Oregon through California down to San Diego. So it's thousands of miles, and we wouldn't have done it without the playlist that kind of motivates you. It's a different kind of marathon, but 6 hours or 8 hours of driving is just you need something with energy to keep you going. Well, very good, Ersan. Thanks very much for sharing that with us. I appreciate it, and thanks very much for coming on the show.
So thanks, appreciate it.
So that was Ersan, fascinating guy, very impressive. Like his music taste, inspired by his athletic abilities. Our next episode, we are going to be talking to Jose Cantera, who's from IOTA. So I hope you'll come back and listen to that. IOTA are doing some really interesting blockchain distributed ledger type work, and we'll actually be drilling into what that means and the difference between a blockchain and a tangle, which is actually what they have, and how that can be applied to supply chains. In the meantime, I'm going to be heading off to Hawaii next week when this episode actually comes out. I hope you enjoy it, and be safe, and see you next time. Thanks for watching this episode of the Mr. Beacon Ambient IoT podcast. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please like and share this video, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss further episodes. For more information about our sponsors, head over to blecon.net, identiv.com, and ambientChat.ai.